Welcome to my garage. Look out. When I'm in the garage, that means the video means business. In semi-seriousness, this is an advanced video today. For you manifestation newbies, go watch another video. If you don't know who I am, my name's Tim. I've been into manifestation concepts and integrating them into real life, real world experience for over a decade. I've worked with hundreds of people. I've written multiple books about this. One of my books you can get for free. Link is in the description. The Law of Attraction Simplified. That was a best-selling book in the metaphysics genre when it came out. It will talk about these concepts in a way that you have probably never considered before, as will this video right here. I want to talk about the simulation. And by that, I mean, I really don't want to talk about the simulation. You hear so much horse shit about it's all a simulation. Let me give a shout out specifically to the E.O. Locker Jr. channel. That guy, David, all of his videos are like, it's a simulation. And then it's like, the titles are always, listen, we all use clickbait titles, but when like virtually every one of your titles is like, watch this video and you'll make $1 million in 48 hours. Like, come fucking on. It's a simulation and that's what's happening. Just a joke, right? And the irony, I mean, I've spoken about David briefly before. The irony is that guy has some good stuff to share. And his first, series of videos were really good, but he's been making just trash for years in terms of simulation crap. It's really simulation for you giving him money, okay? Sorry, just as an aside. But it's not just David. Everyone's talking about simulation stuff, blah, blah, blah. I'm not here to discredit that, okay? Not here to discredit the simulation theory, all these things. I am here to discredit that most of these people talking about it on YouTube have any idea what they are talking about. I am not going to pretend that I actually understand the simulation theory. And I've read some stuff about it, read a little bit about Hoffman and all these different ideas about simulation, right? Some very fascinating ideas, okay? But guys, the people selling you shit online because it's all a simulation, let's pretend we're not in 4th grade anymore. We have to grow up some, okay? I don't buy that aspect. I'm not saying it's not a simulation in some way, but the way it's explained by YouTubers and manifestation gurus, it just seems like fucking nonsense to me. Let me tell you what this actually is a lot more like. A video game. A video game. I've said this many times recently, especially when I make these car videos in the garage, that if you want good, like, business manifestation money advice, once you know the general money vibes that the great manifestation teachings talk about, right? Like, how your demeanor towards money affects your relationship with money, which can affect the outer supply of money. And that stuff's hugely valuable. Don't get me wrong. We have dozens and dozens of videos on this channel about that, right? But once you understand that gist and have read great books like Banned Money Secrets by Richard Dotz, for instance, I'll put a link above to a video we did about that. And, maybe checked out some of like the modern wealth goddesses, like Amanda Francis. She's got that great book, Rich as Fuck, right? Fantastic book. Once you know that general money stuff, I'm here to tell you, and again, I made videos about this. I'll put a link to another video above where I spoke about this at length recently. I think in the garage. Once you've got a handle on the vibe money stuff, right? You're going to realize that it just is not enough most of the time, unless you also have some kind of business plan or financial plan that you're working with or figuring out. And that's why I've said multiple times, in the last 6 months, somebody like Sam Ovens, who has that great Alchemy of Self worksheet and is just a very interesting guy. He's the founder of School, for those of you who don't know him. He's probably going to teach you more about, making supply. Like, we always talk about Joel Goldsmith and invisible supply. Someone like Sam Ovens is a better manifestation teacher when it comes to, invisible supply, you having invisible supply, than somebody like Richard Dotts or Amanda Francis, let alone any of these shitty money manifestation teachers online. I mentioned Richard and Amanda because they're like probably the two best I know of that are modernish. The vibes aren't enough, guys. The vibes are not enough because it personalizes the process too much. It's like, oh, I'm so high vibe that like the money just was naturally attracted to me. Really? I bet you were doing a bunch of other shit too. It wasn't just the high vibes. You see somebody like Sam Ovens talk about money and it's totally impersonal. He's like, we had to do this in order to get this done. I was passionate about this, and so I did this, and the money naturally flowed and circulated because of that passion. That's invisible supply. And another person online that you can look at that's a better manifestation teacher in terms of talking about this stuff, in terms of building a business or making money, than any of the more popular, money is a vibe, money is a frequency people, is Alex Becker. Some of you might know who Alex Becker is. Most of you probably do not. He's one of the few guys besides myself that actually makes funny YouTube videos when it comes to self-improvement. No, Alex Becker is a great example of somebody teaching you what invisible supply and God is supply actually is about, in the same way that Sam Ovens is. Because if you look at Alex Becker's advice for business, and he's got a wonderful, huge YouTube business channel, what he's talking about is figuring out what you actually are passionate about, what you want to do, and then taking appropriate action, aligned action to make it so. Guys, that is real money manifestation advice. It's not just, oh, I'm going to be high vibe and miraculously figure out how to run this business. It's much more eliminating all the distractions and focusing on what you really are interested in, what you really want, and then striving towards that every day and enjoying that process. And one thing that makes Becker so interesting for some of you to study, and why I like watching many of Alex's videos, and I'll put a link above to one of his videos, an old video of his where he talks about this, is that Becker is always talking about subtracting. It's basically he's saying that supply, what you want, you are going to get by letting things go that you do not need, that actually distract you and actually do not make you feel as good as you want. So in other words, in his own life, like, he made a ton of money, millions and millions of dollars. He realized none of this shit is actually making me happier. So he started getting rid of everything. He got to the point where he was living in an apartment. He had a computer, a bed, and that was about it. And he was working 10 or 12 hours a day on what he was passionate about, which was building his company and making helpful YouTube videos. And you might say, well, why the fuck would I want that? I want to be high vibe and full of abundance. My point is, Alex Becker was high vibe, full of abundance when he was doing that. And he did manifest tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars from doing that. Same as Sam Ovens, in his old business and then in school, being so passionate and focused and out of the box that he was able to, create this massive business. Now, I'm not saying that you want to create a massive business. You can be like me and just be kind of like a hippie dude that just wants to feel abundant in supply. But if you don't have a business plan for how to do that, you're going to feel stressed out and you're not going to know what to do with that stress. Right? And that is why, again, somebody like Alex Becker talks about getting rid of distractions, getting rid of shit, becoming essentially a minimalist in many ways in terms of what you're energetically invested in. And in that way, because you're not distracted, you're forced to focus on what you really care most about. Becker, like I mentioned, is very good at talking about this. And let me give you an example. Somebody I grew up with, one of my closest friends, he was always into video games. Okay? Always into video games. Kind of guy that he could play video games 8, 10, 12 hours a day. Almost had like an addictive personality when it came to stuff like that. When we were in our 20s, I got him into real estate because I was doing real estate. And when he started getting into real estate, he became like a fucking monster. He was great at renting apartments, great at making money. And you know why? Because he treated renting apartments the same way he treated video games. He went all in on it. He focused on it. Instead of spending 10 or 12 hours a day on video games, he spent 10 or 12 hours a day just focusing on how am I going to rent an apartment? How am I going to do this? And not just how, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to go out and show apartments. I'm going to go out, make the calls I have to get these listings. I'm going to go and do it. I have a goal. I'm going to go do it. Like I was mentioning in a recent video, Emil Coué's great advice. I want something and it's going to happen. I'm going to do it, right? Real manifestation advice. If you want real money manifestation advice, that's it. I want something. I have a goal. I'm going to do it, right? So my friend literally would, he'd spend 8, 10, 12, 14 hours a day going, renting apartments and making money. And it was just like money coming in because he was just, new leads, new stuff circulating in and out, new clients, people leaving apartments, people moving into apartments, boom, boom, boom. He was in flow with that. And then it's very funny. Like he would, then it would be off season because in the winter it would be quieter. There would be apartments to rent. He would take a month or two off and he would play video games for 10 or 12 hours a day. Do you understand what I'm saying at all here? He eliminated stuff that was a distraction, had a goal, and focused upon that. I can tell you in my life, I've got 2 young kids. Family is very important for me. I'm very focused on that and having a semblance of peace in my life. And I am relatively ruthlessly focused on that. Ruthlessly focused upon that. I have good friends, very good friends, my best friends. I saw 2 of my best friends last week. I don't think, one of them I hadn't seen for a year. The other one I probably see 3 or 4 times a year. They both live within 2 miles of me. Okay? And I like to see them. I like to hang out with them. But that's not my priority. My priority is my children, my family, and having a semblance of peace in running this small, counseling and coaching business in the way that feels aligned. And everything else is secondary. I've eliminated things that do not, that distract me. For instance, I very rarely watch TV. At night, I never have the inclination, I'm going to watch TV. I'm going to wind down by watching TV. I used to do that all the time. It's very habitual for most people. I don't do that. I've made it so my hobby is my work, right? That means I can be working on something with my business or be working with a client, at 7 or 8 o'clock at night. And that does not necessarily burn me out because I'm focused. I know what I want. This is real money manifestation advice, guys. This is not just about raising your frequency or the stuff that Amanda Francis talks about or even Richard Dotch talks about in Banned Money Secrets, where they are oversimplifying and basically overpromising how easy the process will be. If you want something, if you want to be different, if you want to make more money and feel like you don't have enough money right now, you're going to want to focus on what's important. Or, if you're like me and you're very much into the domestic scene, right? You're going to want to focus on what's important. You can't get distracted. People say, you can do all these different things. You can have whatever you want. You fucking want to have whatever you want. You better focus on one thing you want or a couple things you want and get rid of everything else, in my opinion, energetically. This is real manifestation advice. This is also what psycho-cybernetics is all about. Where Maxwell Maltz basically says, focus on what you want and fail your way to success. but be focused on what you want, and then just take action to do it. And fail, recalibrate. Circling back to Sam Ovens, this is what he was talking about in Alchemy of Self when he talks about have a vision, focus on your vision, maybe like, first thing in the morning, for instance, and then take violent action all day long in order to see that vision come into being. Now, again, this is, some of this is very masculine, maybe even macho sounding language. I don't think Sam Ovens is macho. I certainly don't think I'm macho. But the point is, there's like ruthless focus here. Energetic focus. And like when something goes wrong or you feel bad, you're okay because you realize that's part of the process. And it's okay because if I feel bad, I still know I'm focusing on what I want. Like if I quote unquote fail, I'm going to fail failing at trying to get what I actually care most about. I'm not going to fail trying to live like a middle class life, for instance, right? I'm not going to settle for shit that I don't really care about. If I'm going to fail, I'm going to fail, shooting for what's important for me. And that's why I'm making this video for you in my garage. This is the advanced shit, guys. As I always say, we start where all the other manifestation channels pretty much end. So I hope you enjoyed this, business-oriented money manifestation video. If you have questions, you know where to find me.